Hello, and thank you for joining us for Season 5, Episode 6 of Adventures in Fly Tying. And now here's your host, Joe Cornwall.
Isn't that a beautiful fly? That's tied with just one material, or I should say one animal type material. It's tied with the body feathers of a golden pheasant. And we use the yellowish golden feathers, and we use the red feathers from the shoulder of the wing, and that's pretty much the entire material other than thread, tied very much like the Mrs. Simpson. I love this fly late in the year as an imitation of an immature carp. Just about everything eats an immature carp, but it's just overall a great searching pattern, sort of a variation, I guess, on a Mickey Finn with the yellow and the red, but boy does it work really well. So let's take a look at the feathers that we're going to use. We're going to use the golden pheasant pelt, an entire cape. In particular, here are the feathers we're going to look at. You can see mine's been picked out a little bit. These are once again an inexpensive cape, so you can get a lot of great feathers to tie soft hackles, to tie streamers, but we're going to use these yellow feathers are going to tie the body of this fly. These red feathers are going to tie the cheek of this fly, and the only other material that we're going to use on this particular fly is going to be the thread. In this case, we're going to be using a fluorescent orange 140 denier waxed nylon thread. So that gives us a little bit of a hot spot there. Very simple fly to tie. You can tie this on a stainless steel hook for saltwater, freshwater. You can tie it on a bronzed hook. You can tie this pretty much anything from size 10 all the way up to about a size 2. We're using today a size 6, that's a Tiemco 9394, that's a 4XL streamer hook with a ring eye, nickel plated, so we can use this saltwater. Great if you're going down to Florida, also great if you're fishing carp, you're fishing smallmouth, you're fishing largemouth, especially largemouth. This is a great pattern. So let's go ahead and mount that hook in the vise and get started. We're going to, as with all of our flies, lay down a smooth thread base, this bright fluorescent orange, all the way back to a point right above the point of the hook. The orange in this case is going to be the body of the fly as well. Now this fly was originally tied, and I can't remember the name of the fellow, but it was on the Global Fly Fisher where I originally found this pattern, was originally tied as a sea trout pattern in Chile. And when I was doing some research on the Chile pattern pepper, which is Tony Spezio's pattern, I came across this and really loved it. So for this we're going to use a single golden pheasant feather. That's going to be our tail. Easy way to start that, just a couple of 3 wraps to hold that in place. Pull that forward until you get the length of tail that you want, just a little bit of a tail. Go ahead and cut off the excess material there, and there you go. That's the back end of the fly. Now, side-by-side wraps, bring your material or your thread up to about the 1/3 point, just like we are on the Mrs. Simpson. It's going to use the same exact style of tie. On this particular fly, because the body is thread, I like to go ahead and throw a couple of half hitches in there, just in case it gets a little roughed up. I'm not going to lose the entire fly. So we've got that set. Now we're going to do our first 2 feathers. Much the same way, we're going to select 2 of the golden pheasant plumes, and those are going to go on the side. So let's make those go tip to tip. By the way, that's the feather that we use right there for the sparrow. That's the front of the sparrow, if you recall that particular fly that we did several months ago, or maybe it was even years at this point in time. We've been at this now for 5 years. So there's our point right there. Let's go ahead and strip that material back. On the far side, I'm going to lay one in. Now I want that to be right about where the tail is. That'll add a nice little taper, so I'll put that on, just holding that on with 2 or 3 thread wraps. Come to the near side, and obviously these have a little bit of a cup to them. They have a little bit of a curve, so I want them to curve in towards each other. And there you can see, that's the first segment. Wrap back to lock them, come forward and touching wraps. That little bit of hot orange will show through. I want to bring that up to about halfway of what we have left, because there's going to be 3 sets of body feathers to tie this in. I'm going to throw another quick half hitch in there. Same exact thing. I'm going to do 2 more of these golden pheasant feathers, measure those out. You can see that that's going to start stacking. So we're going to take two of them, stack them on top of each other, face to face. Strip back the material. That's the length that I want. Now, far side. Lock that in with 1 or 2 thread wraps. Don't want to do a lot of thread there because you want to be able to adjust it as you go. Near side, lay it on top. Once again, 1 or 2 thread wraps. And you can see that one didn't quite lay the way I wanted it to, so that loose wrap allows me to move that around. Once I've got it in place, lock it in. Wrap back just a couple of wraps, then forward and touching wraps. Keep that nice body material there. I'm going to come up to a point about 1.5 of the hook eye diameters back from that hook eye. That's going to be the last section of body that I'm going to tie in. Throw another 1/2 hitch right there in case that thread should get roughed up. Same deal. I'm going to take 2 more of these yellow feathers, match them up. What's the length that I want? Right there. Ready to go. Very easy. This is a great guide fly because, boy, you can tie this quickly. Once again, sometimes the secret to being successful on the water is showing the fish something they haven't seen before. This is a pattern they probably haven't seen before. Completely tied out of natural materials. There's no flash, yet it has great reflectance, great color, translucency. Just a great little pattern. Very reminiscent, once again, I think, of the Mickey Finn, which is one of my favorite streamer flies, always has been. And there we go. That's the body of that fly. That's already done. Now we want to add in those red cheeks to add a little bit of a blush and add just a little bit of bulk towards the front. So we're going to take 2 of these feathers that we pulled from the wing of the bird, stack those feathers on top of each other, get them so that the points are lined up, strip away the excess material. These feathers are a little bit shorter and fatter. On this one I'm going to strip back like that so that I have the hackle stems that I can play with. These are cheeks. So these are going to add a red blush to both sides. Once again, start with the far side. Just a couple of wraps to hold that in. Go to the near side. Couple of wraps to hold that in. That's where I want it to be. If everything lined up the way I want it to be, I can move that around a little bit. Go ahead and clip out the excess material. Now I can build a neat thread head. Little hot spot of that orange right there. Throw a whip finish in. Or if you drop your thread, you can throw 2 whip finishes in. A little bit of Sally Hansen's. I would not want to be in the head cement company business right now. So I think Sally Hansen's has pretty much taken over fly fishing as the lacquer of choice, at least for my flies. There you have it, the chili pepper, a sea trout fly from Chile. A great fly for brown trout. They love that orange, they love that yellow. A great fly for smallmouth bass, for largemouth bass. Good imitation of an immature carp. Just overall, a great pattern. Tie it on a stainless steel hook. Go ahead and toss that one in the salt water. Tie it on a bronze hook. Fish that for trout, fish that for bass. No matter where you fish it, just fish it. Till next month, thanks for joining us. Tight lines.